Once upon a time there lived two sisters who led completely different lives. Their names were Abena and Efia, and people often wondered if they were truly blood sisters. Abena, the older sister, was a school dropout who married a man 20 years older than herself. Her younger sister, Efia, was well-educated and worked in a multinational corporation. The sisters were not particularly close. Abena often appeared distant and indifferent toward Efia. One day, Efia returned home to visit their parents. She met Abena in the house and decided to share some exciting news. "I'm getting married," Efia said with a bright smile. Their parents leaped for joy, hugging and congratulating her. In a calm but joyful voice, Efia continued, revealing that she was also pregnant. The room fell silent. The joy that once filled the room disappeared. Efia sat there confused, wondering why her parents had gone quiet. After what felt like forever, her father finally spoke. "Bring the man who has shown interest in marrying you," he said. Abena could not hold back her anger. She stood up and stared at her parents. "Are you going to sit back and watch this happen?" she demanded. "I knew it." Abena clenched her fists, her voice trembling with bitterness. She poured out her anger in front of everyone. "You got pregnant just to mock my childlessness," she accused Efia. Efia stood frozen, her smile fading as she stared at her sister in disbelief. "Abena, how could you even think that?" Efia asked softly, trying to calm her sister. Their parents stood confused, unsure of how to handle the brewing storm. But Abena wasn't done. "All my life, I've been the one everyone whispered about behind closed doors," Abena said. "And now you, perfect and successful Efia, have come to mock my pain. You've taken everything from me, and now you ridicule my situation." Efia's eyes filled with tears as she stepped closer to her sister. "Abena, I have never tried to compete with you. I have never wished you harm. I came here to share my joy with my family," Efia said through tears before rushing out of the house. Efia never understood why Abena hated her so much. She sat in silence as their mother tried to console Abena over the phone. Abena told their mother, "Tell her to abort that pregnancy if she ever wants peace in this family." Efia overheard her sister's demands over the phone. The joy of her pregnancy and upcoming marriage was overshadowed by Abena's bitterness. Still, Efia tried to shake off the pain, telling herself that Abena was simply hurting. Their parents called for a family meeting to address the issue, but Abena refused to show up. Efia, ever hopeful, decided to visit Abena at home. She knocked repeatedly, but Abena refused to let her in. Efia started singing their childhood favorite song, hoping it would soften her sister's heart. But Abena angrily walked out and poured a bucket of soapy water over Efia, warning her never to return. Efia walked away, drenched, as neighbors peeked through their windows, whispering amongst themselves. Abena had spent years building walls around herself, blaming Efia for all her misfortunes. She saw Efia as a symbol of everything she had lost: opportunities, affection, and even the dream of motherhood. Despite the tension, Efia continued trying to reach out. When her wedding day arrived, she left an empty seat in the front row, hoping Abena would show up. But Abena stayed home, bitterly watching television. Months later, Efia went into labor and sent a message to Abena. "I am naming my baby after you, Abena. I love you so much." Abena was furious, seeing the gesture as mockery. She drove to the hospital, ready to demand that Efia not name her child after her. But when she arrived, she was met with heartbreaking news. Efia had passed away during childbirth, leaving behind her newborn daughter and grieving husband. Abena froze, guilt overwhelming her. Her mother, in tears, said, "She loved you, Abena. Even in her final moments, she asked for you. Naming her baby after you was her way of showing love." The anger that fueled Abena's journey dissolved. She stood before Efia's lifeless body, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry," Abena whispered. "I didn't see how much you loved me." In the weeks that followed, Abena devoted herself to caring for her niece, little Abena. The baby's innocence and love began to heal her broken heart. But life continued testing her. Her husband, tired of her, married a younger bride chosen by his family. He threw Abena out, leaving her with nothing. Broken and humiliated, Abena returned to her parents' home. One day she visited Efia's husband to check on her niece. When the door opened, she was shocked to see Obiora, her first love. They were both stunned. Obiora had returned to the country and was staying with his cousin Efia's husband. As they spoke, Obiora revealed he had never forgotten her. For the first time, Abena shared the truth about her forced abortion and all that followed. Over time, the two began to rebuild their bond, finding comfort in their shared grief. Abena found solace in caring for little Abena, dedicating her life to ensuring her niece had a bright future. Through forgiveness and love, Abena began to heal, carrying Efia's memory and love in her heart forever. Abena's life took on a new meaning after she embraced her niece, little Abena. The child became her anchor, a reminder of her sister's unconditional love. Every day, as she cradled the baby and sang to her, Abena felt Efia's presence in her heart. Despite the pain of losing Efia, Abena found joy in motherhood, even if it wasn't through traditional means. Little Abena grew up surrounded by love and stories about her mother. Abena ensured the child knew how kind, strong, and forgiving Efia had been. Meanwhile, Abena and Obiora began to spend more time together. Obiora, still unmarried, was captivated by the changes in Abena. She was no longer the carefree, fiery young woman he had fallen in love with years ago, but someone wiser, humbled by life's challenges. One day, during a quiet moment, Obiora said, "Abena, I've loved you all my life. Even when I thought I'd lost you forever, my heart never stopped searching for you. Will you let us start over?" Abena hesitated. "Obiora, my life is complicated. I come with scars and baggage. I don't know if I deserve your love." But Obiora took her hands and smiled. "It's your scars that make you beautiful, Abena. They show your strength and your journey." Their relationship blossomed, but it wasn't without challenges. Community still whispered about Abena's past, and some questioned her motives. But Obiora stood firm by her side, silencing critics with his unwavering love and support. As the years passed, little Abena grew into a bright and curious child. She excelled in school and often spoke about becoming a doctor, inspired by the stories of her mother's compassion. She was the light in Abena's life, pushing her to strive for better. Abena decided to start her own business, using her experiences to help others. She opened a small center for women, offering counseling and support for those facing challenges like hers: failed marriages, societal pressure, and lost opportunities. She named the center Efia's Hope. The center became a sanctuary for women in the community, a place where they could share their stories, find encouragement, and rebuild their lives. Abena often spoke to the women, sharing her journey and the lessons she'd learned. One day, a young woman named Adoma came to the center. She was on the verge of giving up after facing rejection from her family for being a single mother. Abena took her aside and said, "You have no idea how strong you are. Your child needs you, and you can give them a life filled with love. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." Adoma later said those words saved her life. She went on to succeed in her career and became one of the center's biggest supporters. As Abena's work gained recognition, she was invited to speak at events and share her story. She used these opportunities to honor Efia, often beginning her speeches with, "This is for my sister, whose love saved me when I couldn't save myself." Eventually, Abena and Obiora married in a simple but beautiful ceremony. Community that once judged her now celebrated her resilience and transformation. Little Abena, dressed in a flowery white dress, walked her aunt down the aisle, holding her hand tightly. Years later, as Abena sat on the porch of her home watching little Abena play, she reflected on her life. She had been through heartbreak, loss, and betrayal, but she had also found love, purpose, and forgiveness. She whispered to the wind, "Efia, I hope you see this. I hope you're proud of me." And in that moment, she felt a soft breeze and a warmth in her heart, as though Efia was answering her from beyond. Abena's story became a testament to the power of forgiveness, the strength of love, and the ability to rise from the ashes. Through Efia's memory and little Abena's laughter, she found her way back to happiness. Abena's life after adopting her niece became a journey of love, resilience, and self-discovery. Little Abena, with her boundless energy and endless curiosity, brought joy and purpose into her aunt's world. Yet raising her was not without its challenges. As she grew older, she began to ask questions that Abena had long feared but knew were inevitable. One day, with wide, innocent eyes, she asked, "Auntie, where is my mommy? Why isn't she here like the other mommies?" Abena's heart ached as she knelt down to meet her niece's gaze. "Your mommy was a wonderful, brave woman," she began, her voice trembling. "She loved you more than anything, and she trusted me to take care of you when she couldn't be here anymore. She's in heaven now, watching over us every single day." The child seemed to accept this explanation, though her questions lingered in Abena's heart long after their conversation ended. That night, Abena cried silently in her room, clutching a picture of her sister Efia. She vowed once again to give her niece the life her sister had dreamed of, a life full of love, security, and opportunities. Determined to channel her pain into something meaningful, Abena poured her energy into Efia's hope, the women's center her sister had envisioned. What began as a small, humble initiative grew into a thriving community hub. Women from all walks of life came to Efia's hope seeking support, guidance, and a chance to rebuild their lives. Abena became a mentor to many, offering not only practical assistance but also a listening ear and a shoulder to lean on. Abena's work attracted the attention of local organizations and volunteers who wanted to contribute to her cause. Among them was Obiora, a passionate lawyer who provided free legal aid to women in need. Their professional collaboration gradually blossomed into a deep romantic bond. Obiora admired Abena's strength and compassion, while she found solace in his unwavering support and understanding. Their relationship, however, was not without obstacles. Obiora's family, particularly his mother, struggled to accept Abena's past and her unconventional role as a single parent to her niece. "You deserve someone with less baggage," his mother said one evening, her disapproval evident. Obiora stood his ground. "Abena's past doesn't define her. It's her strength, her resilience, and her heart that make her the woman I love." Over time, even the skeptics in the community began to recognize Abena's true character. Her dedication to her niece and her tireless efforts at Efia's hope won over many hearts. Slowly but surely, perception shifted, and Abena's place in the community was cemented as a woman of integrity and compassion. As little Abena grew older, she became increasingly involved in her aunt's work. By the time she was 12, she was organizing small fundraisers at her school, selling handmade crafts to support the center's scholarship fund. Her enthusiasm and determination mirrored her mother's spirit, and Abena often marveled at how much of Efia lived on in her niece. One evening, as they sat together making bracelets for an upcoming fundraiser, little Abena looked up and asked, "Auntie, do you think I'll be like my mommy when I grow up?" Abena smiled, her heart swelling with pride and emotion. "You already are, my love. You have her kindness, her courage, and her light." The years passed, and little Abena blossomed into a confident, compassionate young woman. She excelled in her studies and decided to pursue a career in social work, inspired by the work she had witnessed at Efia's Hope. Her dream was to help children who, like her, had faced loss and hardship. Meanwhile, Abena continued to expand the reach of Efia's Hope. She launched new programs, including a mentorship initiative and a mental health counseling service, ensuring that no woman in the community felt alone or unsupported. She also began sharing her own story more openly, speaking at events and writing articles about her journey. One particularly memorable moment came when Abena organized a community event called Stories of Strength, where women shared their personal journeys of resilience and empowerment. Abena herself was the final speaker of the evening. Standing before a packed audience, she took a deep breath and began, "There was a time when I let pain and bitterness consume me. I shut myself off from the world and forgot what it meant to love and be loved. But through my sister Efia's forgiveness and my niece's unconditional love, I found my way back. This center is not just for women like me. It's for anyone who believes in second chances." The room erupted into applause, and Abena felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Among the audience members was Obiora's mother, who approached her afterward with tears in her eyes. "I misjudged you," she admitted. "You've turned your pain into something beautiful. Efia would be proud of you." Years later, little Abena graduated from university with honors, becoming the first in her family to earn a degree. The entire community came together to celebrate her achievement. During her graduation speech, she spoke with grace and gratitude, saying, "This is for my mother Efia, who taught me kindness, and my Aunt Abena, who showed me strength. Everything I am, I owe to them." Abena, sitting in the audience, felt an overwhelming sense of pride. As she looked at her niece, now a grown woman ready to make her mark on the world, she knew that Efia's legacy had not only been preserved but also amplified. In her later years, Abena wrote a memoir titled Efia's Light, chronicling her journey and the lessons she had learned along the way. The book became a source of inspiration for readers around the world, further solidifying her impact. One evening, as she sat on her porch with little Abena, now an adult with a family of her own, Abena reflected on her life. "It wasn't an easy road," she said softly, her voice tinged with emotion. "But every step brought me closer to where I was meant to be." Her niece took her hand and smiled. "You've given me everything, Auntie. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make you and Mama proud." As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the horizon, Abena felt a profound sense of peace. She had transformed her pain into purpose, her love into a legacy, and her life into a testament to the power of hope and resilience. Abena's life continued to evolve, marked by milestones that reminded her of the strength and love that had carried her through the hardest times. As Efia's hope grew, it became a beacon not just in their community but in neighboring towns as well. The center's programs expanded to include vocational training, financial literacy classes, and a youth mentorship initiative that empowered the next generation. Abena found immense joy in watching lives transform, knowing her sister's dream had blossomed beyond anything they had imagined. One day, as she walked through the center greeting women and children, she came across a young mother sitting alone in the courtyard. The woman's eyes were filled with a sadness Abena recognized all too well. She approached her gently, sat beside her, and said, "You don't have to do this alone." The woman, whose name was Amina, broke down in tears, sharing a story of loss and fear that mirrored Abena's own journey. Over the weeks that followed, Abena became a mentor to Amina, guiding her through healing and helping her find work through the center's programs. Amina eventually became one of the most dedicated volunteers at Efia's Hope, paying forward the kindness she had received. As Abena approached her 60th birthday, her niece, now Dr. Abena Efia Mensa, had become a well-known advocate for children's rights. She frequently spoke at international conferences, often sharing her story of being raised by her aunt and how Efia's hope had shaped her path. Her speeches inspired countless others, and her work brought resources and attention to communities in need across the globe. One evening, as Dr. Abena prepared to leave for a conference in Geneva, she and her aunt shared a quiet moment on the porch. "Auntie," she said, holding Abena's hand, "you've built something incredible here. I hope you know how many lives you've changed." Abena smiled, her eyes glistening with tears. "It was your mother's dream. I just carried the torch. But you've taken her light to places we could never have imagined. She would be so proud of you." The conference in Geneva was a pivotal moment. Dr. Abena shared the stage with global leaders, speaking passionately about the importance of community-driven initiatives. Her words resonated deeply, and several organizations pledged funding and support for the program she championed. Back home, Abena watched the live broadcast with Obiora by her side. They had grown old together, their love enduring through the years. Obiora had long since retired from his legal practice, but he remained deeply involved in the work of Efia's Hope, often handling administrative tasks or offering legal counsel to those in need. As they watched Dr. Abena's speech, Obiora turned to his wife and said, "You've created a legacy that will outlast us all." Abena leaned against him, a smile playing on her lips. "We created it together. None of this would have been possible without you." In the years that followed, Efia's Hope became a model for similar centers across the country. Abena began training other community leaders, teaching them how to replicate the center's success. She also wrote a second book, Carrying the Torch, which delved into the practical and emotional aspects of building a legacy. The book became a bestseller, inspiring countless readers to turn their own struggles into sources of strength. As Abena grew older, her role at the center gradually shifted. She stepped back from day-to-day operations, entrusting the leadership to a team of passionate women she had mentored over the years. She spent her days writing, gardening, and enjoying time with her growing family, which now included her niece's children. One sunny afternoon, the community gathered to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Efia's Hope. Courtyard was filled with laughter, music, and the vibrant energy of people whose lives had been touched by the center. Dr. Abena gave a heartfelt speech, paying tribute to her aunt and mother. "This center is more than a building," she said. "It's a testament to the power of love and resilience. It's proof that even in the darkest moments, light can be found." When Abena took the stage, the crowd erupted into applause. She looked out at the sea of faces, women who had found strength, children who had found hope, and families who had found new beginnings, and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. My sister Efia dreamed of a world where no woman or child felt alone, she said, her voice steady despite the emotion welling within her. I carried that dream because of her love, and I see now that it lives on in all of you. This is not just my legacy or Efia's. It's ours. Together, we've built something extraordinary. As the applause echoed around her, Abena felt a deep peace settle over her. Her life had been a tapestry of loss and love, hardship and triumph, but in that moment she knew it had all been worth it. In the quiet days that followed the celebration, Abena reflected on her journey. She thought of Efia, of the promise she had made to her sister, and of the beautiful life that had emerged from those ashes of grief. Her heart was full, her spirit light, and her legacy secure. When the time came for her to rest, she left the world with the same grace and strength she had carried throughout her life. Her passing was marked by a celebration of her life and her achievements, with thousands coming together to honor the woman who had turned pain into purpose. Dr. Abena, standing before the crowd, spoke through tears. My aunt taught me that love is the most powerful force in the world. She taught me to fight for what's right, to give without expectation, and to always carry the light forward. Her legacy will live on in all of us, and so it did. The seeds Abena had sown grew into a forest of hope, touching lives far beyond what she could have imagined. Her story became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable loss, love has the power to heal, transform, and endure.